Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Kenz.
And I'm that nerd, Allison.
Ooh, and welcome to our Spicy Book Nook. So we are going to today go over our recent reads of the complete Brutal Birthright series by Sophie Lark.
I'm so happy we picked up these books.
I'm glad that we noticed that Kingmakers had a series before it. Imagine if we didn't.
I feel like it just makes it that much better.
I don't think I would have read
starting the air and knowing the parents' background. I'm like, I can't wait.
My thing is I wouldn't have read Brutal Birthright if we had already read Kingmakers.
I would have been
I'm so glad that we picked it up beforehand. So we're just going to go into each different book and kind of talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, and kind of where each one of us would rank them, because our ranks are a little bit different, even though in our wonderful 30-second reviews that you should go watch, we kind of combined our stuff to put it in the middle. Yeah. But you're going to get our honest reviews and opinions in this. So the first one we are going to start with is the very first book, and that is Brutal Prince. So Brutal Prince Brutal Prince is the start of the whole thing. It explains the two different families, the Gallows and the Griffins. They're two rival mafia families in Chicago. So the Gallows are the Italian mafia, and there's 4 of them.
And they're like kind of trying to get away from like the old school gangster-esque.
But there's still more
of it compared to the
Griffins.
The Griffins are like super political.
Yeah. So in the Gallows family, you have the oldest boy, Dante, the second boy, Nero, the youngest boy, Sebastian, and then the baby, Ada.
Yeah.
And I love her. Me too. She's probably my favorite character. Every time that she's within any of these books, she's just this snarky little girl, and I'm just like, yes, even though she's not a little girl, she's an adult. I
don't know. The
way she treats Simone. Anyway,
we'll get there. She's great.
And then there is the Griffin family. And there's 3 of them. The oldest is Callum. He's the oldest boy. He's the one that's taking over for the family. And then they have 2 girls. The middle girl is Riona.
And she's a lawyer.
Yep.
And
so she's like,
she really badly wants to help with the mafia family, but
she wants to belong and feel loved, but she's kind of she's a little cold-hearted.
And she's like outshone by Callum, who's like
given
all the
opportunities and born first.
Yeah.
And then they have their baby, the sweetest one out of all of them.
And
she's literally talked about just as the best person in any of the families. And it's funny that she falls for the most ruthless one out of all of them. Regardless. Damn. Anyway, and that is Nessa. So in the first book, it's
Nessa's birthday.
Yep, Nessa's birthday.
Ada decides to
go crash the birthday party because they hate each other, by the way.
Yeah.
They are rivals. They do not get along. They've been going at each other's throats for a long time.
Like years. Like the Griffins killed some of their uncles, or their uncles killed some of the Griffins.
Yeah. It's like a whole thing.
Yeah. But Ada convinced the siblings to go crash the party because she wanted champagne and free like fancy food.
Those damn fireworks.
Yeah. And she's like, fuck their fireworks. Yeah. And then she shows up.
Yeah.
Finds her way into.
She likes to explore. The house that the Griffins are in. The Griffins are a little bit, I think, richer.
Yeah.
So the house that they own is way more modern, and it's super updated.
Yeah, I was gonna say they
she's a reader.
A lot of the time they mention like there's couches you can't sit on. It's just all for show. It's like something out of a magazine. And
then the Gallows live in a 100-year-old house that has been in their family
like
the whole time.
Looking.
Yeah. So anyway, she goes to explore, and she makes her way into the library, and she's playing with this little pocket watch, and then someone walks in.
And so she hides behind a chair.
Yeah. And it happens to be Callum Griffin, the oldest boy, the ruthless boy that they talk about how he's just got cold eyes.
Yeah.
That's her thing, because I'm pretty sure they're ice blue, right?
Yeah, I feel like they're like gray or blue.
Something like that. Yeah. I don't know. But that's the thing, is they talk about his eyes. And
he's just trying to mind his own business and have whiskey in his library. She freaks out and tries to make a distraction.
Well, she's sitting there and she's starting to go numb. And she's like, I have to get out of here. So this smart little girl, I think she's like 18. Yeah. She's young. It's
not her brightest moment, but we love her for it because
it just hits the curtains into
the
fireplace.
Yeah. Causes that, and they're like older curtains, they're like thick curtains, so they like automatically catch on fire. Just up in flames.
And there starts
and she runs out.
Yep, she
with
leaves.
The pocket watch in her hand.
I forgot about that. That's the whole thing.
That's the whole thing.
That's literally the whole book.
And then Callum sees this girl leave.
He doesn't know who she is. Yeah. He hasn't seen her yet.
Until
he runs out of the room.
He runs out of the
stops
room
the fire.
after her, and he sees her talk to Sebastian.
Is it Sebastian? I thought it was Nero.
Or it might have been Nero.
It was Nero because he just came out from doing
the
dirty.
And the
Allison, we're not allowed to swear. Just kidding.
It's not within the first minute, right? YouTube, don't take us down. It didn't mean it.
Yeah, but he was doing stuff with some girl
in the
dining room on the table because that's Nero.
Yeah, we love him.
And then they chase.
Long story short, Callum is upset about her taking the pocket watch. He goes after her with one of his enforcers, Jack, which
he's important later.
Yeah. They have a little altercation.
Ada and Sebastian are like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go to Dave and Buster's."
Right after they just
and she stole the watch. That was the biggest thing. I think that's why he went after her. Was because she stole the pocket watch.
Because it was his like grandfather's.
And so Ada and Sebastian decided not to go into Dave and Buster's and go on a fucking walk down a fucking pier by themselves.
Because it makes, perfect sense. But anyway, they have an altercation. Jack beats up and breaks Sebastian's knee.
He stomps on Sebastian's knee.
Sebastian, background, is a
basketball star.
Yeah. Superstar.
And was a basketball star.
Too soon. But then Ada decides to chuck this pocket watch
into the ocean.
And then
Callum, being Callum, that's his grandfather's pocket watch. So he jumps into the ocean. He's distracted. Jack got beat up by Ada.
Yeah,
Ada,
she
and Sebastian.
Him, right?
She did, and they run.
Yeah,
and they go home, and
then what ensues is that instead of fighting each other, the
fathers
decide to
merge the families.
Yeah, they're just gonna marry them together.
Marriage.
Problem solved. What could possibly go wrong? Well, they're not like.
First off, I love Ada. I love her so fucking much. Like,
she's great. The amount of hate that they have towards each other in the very first beginning of the book, they can't stand each other. They not even be in the same room.
So she poisoned him on their wedding night.
Because one of my favorite
she
parts
found
in the entire
out
book.
At their engagement party that he was allergic to strawberries.
So what did she do?
All day before the wedding, she sat there and ate strawberries.
So when the priest was like, say I do, and they're like, yeah, and they're like, kiss the bride, and she kisses him, and then he immediately puffs up.
Well, he did it forcefully. He was kind of mean when he kissed her at the wedding. Yeah. He was like, rah, and attacked her mouth, and
she was eating strawberries, so
Yep.
So he spends their wedding night in the hospital, and she is so happy about that. And then
she has to move into his house.
And then the next morning, is it the next morning?
I think it's either the next morning or a couple mornings after because he had to stay in the hospital for a little bit.
But then my next favorite part happens where she sees him out swimming.
Yeah.
And he made a comment about the wedding or how she...
and he was like, come here, let me tell you something.
Which I don't know why she walked closer, whatever. And then he full on grabs her with her arms pinned onto her side and drags her to the bottom of the pool.
And keeps her under there.
So she's choking. He's
drowning her.
And then he finally lets her come up for breath when she's blacking out. And he's like, how does it feel not being able to breathe? And I was like,
bam! Yes!
I love it. I love
that
it so
made
much.
me like Callum. That sounds so bad. Saying it out loud.
It's
oh, he just drowned his wife. I love him.
It's foreplay between those two. It's
because what ensues next?
Yeah, they're just I don't have feelings for you. I don't have feelings for you. Go fuck yourself. And
what happens next is they say, go fuck yourself. And they do that to each other.
Yeah.
In the shower. Very aggressively.
This means nothing. Nothing.
But they're super attracted to each other. That's been a thing the whole time is they both think each other are super attractive. Ada is she's just a person that likes sex.
And Callum, he said he normally doesn't like have a lot of sex. He normally has like a bunch of models and stuff on his arm, but they don't normally like mean anything. But then Ada shows up and he's like, all of a sudden I'm like falling for this girl and I just can't keep my hands off of her.
Yeah.
The part where so she doesn't like to dress up at all. She normally wears like cut off shorts.
He took all her clothes.
Yeah. And so he takes all the clothes out of the closet and he's like, you're gonna wear this dress. And then
so she's defiant. She does not want to. That's the biggest thing about her personality throughout all of the books. Is she's just like, a defiant, like,
she's like,
I'm gonna tell you how I feel kind of person.
Yeah, she's like, you can't tell me what to do.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do what I want.
So Callum, of course, now
he has to win,
show her that he is the boss.
Yeah, he's like, you will listen to me. I'll break you.
So she goes along with it because I think he threatens her or something. I can't remember exactly what happened.
He's like, we're going to this party, whether or not you're dressed or something like that.
Oh, yeah. He was going to let her go naked.
He's like, I'll make you go naked. We're going, or you're going to wear this dress that I gave you. No underwear included.
Yep. He didn't give her underwear.
And then, of course, that leads to...
I don't think it was that yet.
I'm pretty sure it's the limo scene.
I think it was after.
After the party.
Because her ex...
Yeah, it was
her.
after the party. Yeah.
So while they're at the party, her ex, which this is a big plot within the book.
Yeah.
Her ex was super obsessed with her, like criminally obsessed. Corners her, and it pisses Callum off. Yeah, like she's his wife.
Yeah, he's like,
were they only engaged?
No, they were
married. Yeah, because he also cornered her at the engagement party, but at the next party, I'm pretty sure they were married. He beats the shit out of him, which, of course, her ex's daddy has a lot of money.
Powerful guy. Yeah.
And then he beats the shit out of him. His dad is pissed. Callum has to go and talk to him because they're a political family and smooth it over.
Leave the party.
But that kind of starts the like little bit of a love story between the two of them.
He's like, oh, okay, maybe I care just a little bit.
This is also the Polish mafia wants a piece of the party. So Callum is running for alderman, which is just the essentially the mayor of the district.
Yeah, which is like it's a powerful
position,
rich district, and so it holds a lot of power.
Yeah, so they essentially approve all of the things that are going on, and then so he's running for alderman. The Polish mafia says, I'm not going to let this happen, blah, 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 blah. You have to give me this.
They were like, you didn't invite us to marry Ada. And now they're super upset. And then they're like, well, since you didn't invite us into this little, like, I don't know, invitation to merge our families, then we want this property, right? They wanted the property.
So that's the two different plots in this book is Ada's ex and then the Polish mafia leader. So with the Polish mafia leader, shit comes to a head.
They kidnap
Callum and Ada. And then, ooh, bless you.
Thank you.
They kidnap Callum and Ada. They end up escaping. This is when they start to really fall in love. They go through a thing because Ada came back for him. She could have just left. She did not. She rescued Callum. Callum would have died. He did not because she came back for him. And that's really when they started actually showing their feelings.
Yeah.
And then Ada's ex got super possessive. He kidnapped her after this happened.
Just like twice in a row she got kidnapped. She's like, what the fuck am I doing with my life?
But she had a conversation with Callum about her shoes, I think.
Yeah.
And she kicked a shoe off before she got into the trunk.
As she was getting kidnapped and put in the trunk.
Yep. Hoping that Callum would understand because of their conversation. It was kind of like a test.
Yeah. And do you actually listen to me? And
and Callum understood. Her brothers were like, no, there's no way.
It's the Polish mafia.
Yep. The Polish mafia did it. But Callum was like, I think I know where she is.
Yeah.
So he goes to the house of the ex.
And while this is happening, the brothers, Dante and Nero, kill the head of the Polish mafia because,
which is huge.
Yeah, they think that he took Ada, so then they retaliate. Whoopsies, he didn't do it.
No, they retaliated because they shot them up.
Oh, yeah.
So it was a little bit of both. So they shot them up. They were after them anyway, and then Ada was kidnapped, and they're like, that was them. We're killing them. So they go and kill the head of the Polish mafia. Meanwhile, Ada is essentially being like,
he tried to burn her alive, like burn her in his house. He was just going to burn it all down.
If I can't have you, no one else can. He was insane. Callum rescues her.
Kills the guy.
All good. Kills, the guy dies in the fire. He doesn't technically kill him. He falls into the fire.
Yeah.
And Callum and Ada live. Her brothers come pick him up. They say, hey, we killed the Polish mafia. Happily ever after. Ada's pregnant in the end.
Woo! Super happy.
That was book 1. That was like super rushed ending, but that was pretty much the first book. They end up happily ever after. Head of the Polish mafia is dead. Callum and Ada are in love. That's the end of book 1.
This is second on my list in rankings.
Okay.
It's number 2.
What would you give it?
For stars, definitely I'm going to stick with a 3.5.
I had a 3.5 as well.
I really liked the plot of this one. And it's just like,
it was the beginning. It had to have been.
The back and forth between the two characters, and
I like that it was the
Sunshine,
two families.
I just loved it.
Yeah.
And then, like, it wasn't super spicy. There was a couple spicy scenes. So, like, in the limo, the shower scene. Was that really it?
No, there was a few other times.
But it wasn't anything, like, crazy.
Yeah. It wasn't.
It was like descriptive, but it wasn't like anything.
Another thing is like they had to consummate the marriage, which that's what the shower scene was consummated, because they were trying to make a baby because they want the heir to both families. They want to combine the families,
so that they don't fight anymore.
But yeah,
second
3.5, 2.5 spice. Really good. It was a good book, and I enjoyed it. It got me hooked into the series. Number 2,
Stolen Heir. Is in my number 1 spot.
It was so good.
Loved it.
It was so
mainly
good.
because of Miko.
I love Grumpy Sunshine.
It's just, I don't know. I have something for the freaking, like, he gives Draco Malfoy vibes. And he's like
a dark
tatted
character.
He's like tatted bad boy, like white blonde hair, tatted up.
Tatted like neck down. She makes it a point to talk about how there's no tattoos on his penis.
And that's the only part that doesn't have tattoos.
And his hands. And then the bottom of his feet, I think.
Yeah.
But like...
Well, I think he has hand tattoos. He just doesn't
on his palms.
Yeah, he just doesn't have it on his palms. Yeah.
Which... Yeah. That description.
So the second book starts with the Polish Mafia are obviously upset.
Well, yeah. Okay, so the second book is Nessa, the youngest Griffin girl. She is just a happy-go-lucky person. She's a dancer.
In the ballet. She's upset because she's choreographing dances and she's not getting credit.
And then she gets kidnapped because the Polish Mafia is pissed. So Miko, it starts with his story. He was in...
super sad.
Yep. He was in Poland, right?
He was in Poland.
And his twin sister...
got raped by Polish Mafia members.
Yep. No, I don't think it was mafia members. It was just a gang.
No, it was Polish Mafia because then he ended up killing him. And
you're right. The Brothers too.
Yeah.
You're right. So she ended up getting raped, and then he was so pissed that he went to go get a gun.
So he could
went
kill
after
the Polish
them.
Mafia.
Came home, and she had slit her wrists.
In the bathtub. And he wasn't there.
Trigger warning. I'm so sorry. We should have put that before. Trigger
we'll
warning.
Put it in the front
trigger
of the
warning.
podcast. But while he was not there.
Yep.
And it like really gets to him.
That hurt him because
all he wants is revenge.
Yes. His biggest thing was he should have stayed with her.
Yeah.
Which is just so sad. But he is
literally the saddest beginning to any of the books.
It was. So he goes through, kills those 3 guys. And then the leader of the Brothers too is like.
So on the last guy he kills, he goes to kill them. It's a setup. They're like in a warehouse. He shows up to kill the guy, and the Polish Mafia is upset because he's been killing Polish Mafia. So they're like, "Who are you working for?" And he's like, "I'm not working for anybody." They're like, "Well, why are you doing this?" The leader of the Polish Mafia is like, "Why are you doing this?" And he's like, "Well, they raped my sister. Like, I want revenge. She died. She killed herself. Like, that's all I want is revenge." And so the leader of the Polish Mafia is like, "Oh, well, did you?" And he asks he
goes, "Trigger warning."
Yeah,
kills him.
Trigger warning. Yeah.
Literally, just kills him right there,
just outright.
But an eye for an eye. You're killing my guys. You still need to be punished. He chopped off half of his finger.
And he was like,
if you read the first book, they talk about Miko a little bit in there.
He's part of the people that
kidnapped Caleb and Ada. Jesus.
Yeah.
Kada and Alum.
Ada had hit him in the head. No, his best friend, his brother, in the head with the bottle or something.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So he takes over because the leader of the
Polish mafia.
the Brothers too. Yep, the Polish mafia
kind of like adopted him for the most part.
Became like his brother.
Him and another guy,
his actual son.
Yeah.
But Miko was the one that got the leadership position. And then, so you're going through the book. He kidnaps Nessa because he wants to tear apart both families.
And the
because
best way to do that,
because he knows about the alliance.
Yep. The best way to do that is the girl that is like cherished by both.
Yep. Yeah. So he kind of pits them against each other. He sets up this thing where he's like, or he partners with the Russian mafia. And they set up this thing where they're like, I'll give her back if you give me all this money, a ransom. And so they actually ended up putting a bag over a different dancer's head and gave her Nessa's clothes.
And so they got a bunch of money for the Russian mafia.
Yep.
And didn't actually have to give Nessa away.
Didn't give Nessa away.
Just to kind of like fuck with them a little bit.
And Jack Barlow, who is Callum's best friend bodyguard,
who hit the knee
smashed
of
Sebastian's knee, was killed.
Meanwhile, Nessa's been locked up in Miko's house, kind of like Beauty and the Beast scenario where they're like skirting around each other. I should not be attracted to you,
but I'm attracted to you.
But I'm attracted to you. Is this like a Stockholm syndrome?
And that was a big thing with Miko, is he essentially turned off his emotions. He
after his sister
didn't love anybody. He was just a ruthless killer. Didn't care who he killed. Like
he just had like nothing to like
Beast,
really live
Beauty
for.
and the Beast.
Yeah.
That is this book. And you know, they force proximity. He calls it a Stockholm syndrome. Because they ended up falling in love.
So he ends up.
She sneaks into his room. This is a big part. She sneaks into his room, and like she figures him out essentially, and no one has ever done that with him. So tattoos is a big thing in mafia. And he hid things about himself in his tattoos,
in stories that
from books
that his sister liked. In his tattoos,
Nessa figures it out, and then she finds a book that says like "Love Anna" or "To Anna" or something like that, and she essentially figures out that he has a sister, and she brings it up, and it pisses him off. So she runs away. She hides. She breaks her because he's got a like ankle monitor,
a house arrest bracelet type thing on her ankle, so he can just track her.
So she breaks it, and then they get her back inside, and she's making friends with the housekeeper. And so she comes back inside. She sneaks back into his room.
Gives him a little
doesn't he?
While he's sleeping? Well, I think she's like touching him while he's asleep. She's like,
before that, though.
Let me grope you a little bit.
They have a sexual encounter beforehand. First, he kisses her when she's dancing. And then I'm pretty sure he eats her out.
No, it's not until.
Yeah, he eats her out first. And then she sneaks back in.
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure she initiated it.
I can't remember. But
because
anyway.
After she does him, he does her in the bed.
So they have sex later.
Yeah, they have sex after that.
Okay.
She was like,
so she walks in, and he's sleeping.
Yeah.
And she.
Yeah. She just can't help herself.
She can't.
And then he wakes up, and then
obviously he's into
let me
it.
return the favor. Yeah.
Which he doesn't do.
Yeah.
By the way, he has a hard time coming. Like, that's a thing in the book.
He, like, in the first, like, chapter or something like that, he's
just
at
getting
his
his dick sucked.
And he's getting his dick sucked while he's talking to his best friend. And then he's like, all right, you can go. I'm just not going to finish.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, there's no feelings, no emotion to it. But with Nessa, he
was like, instantly.
Not only ejaculates in her mouth, he then returns the favor, which he has not done.
Ever.
Ever.
Yeah.
Like, he just won't do it because he doesn't have feelings. He doesn't care about returning that.
Great.
Anyway,
they end up falling in love.
Yep, they fall in love.
He breaks the pact with
he
the
lets her
Russian mafia.
go, which pisses his mafia off because they let go.
And he breaks the pact with the Russian mafia at the same time.
Yep. So he just 2 things came with that. He broke that, which made his mafia angry. They tried to kill him when he let Nessa go. Nessa comes back, saves him
with his,
but his mafia does not know that. He doesn't know that he's alive. So he works with the Griffins and the Gallows. I think,
and his best friend that came back with Nessa.
I can't remember his name. He's not super important.
Yeah. He was in love with the housekeeper.
Yeah,
I forget his name.
Yeah. And then ends up killing his brother.
Sebastian does.
No. He kills his brother. Sebastian kills the other guy.
Yeah.
But yes, so Sebastian is there. He ends up killing one of the other Polish mafia guys because he was coming after Nero, who was also there.
It was like a big shootout.
And it was a whole thing.
Yeah.
And Miko won. And then he now has to impress the Griffin family after he stole their daughter. And
he's like,
put
I
so
love
much stress
her.
on
You
their
can
family.
have her back, but like we're in love, and I kind of want to marry her.
So he has to prove himself, essentially. Yeah. So the end of the book. Another big thing about this is he threatened Nessa's dance person and made him give her credit for the stuff, and then she ended up choreographing a whole play. And the end of the book is they go and they watch it together. And he's with her family. And then at the end, they're standing in line. And here comes the leader of the Russian mafia.
Who is pissed.
Miko sees it. And
he goes to shoot Nessa in front of everybody.
He saves Nessa. Miko saves Nessa. And Fergus Griffin, Nessa's
dad, was not going to be quick enough. And so he's like super grateful. He's like, thank you for saving my daughter.
Well, he killed Kolya Christoph, which is the
Russian lead.
Don.
Yeah.
Essentially the lead of the Russian mafia. And then they live happily ever after in Miko's house.
Yeah. She like moves in.
And that's book 2.
Yeah.
They're super happy. They love each other.
It's number 1 on my list. 4 stars.
4 stars, 2.5 spice. It's pretty good. Nothing crazy.
It wasn't like, the reason why I gave it 2.5 spice was because like, it's nothing like crazy kinky. I mean, it's like the sleeping thing, but, and then it was also like super frequent. Like it happened just a couple times. It was more like the tension.
Yeah. So, number 3, Savage Lover. So this one,
I think really liked. It
wasn't high on my list, honestly.
It was. This might be. It's 4.
Like 5th for me.
It's 4 for me, but only because the other ones were so good. Like I didn't dislike it. I really liked this one.
I like Nero. Yeah. I like his character. Anyway, he's the bad boy, sleeps with a lot of girls. Meets Camille, who is also a car junkie, same as him. They bond, friends. They figure out that they're falling in love.
She's selling drugs to keep her half-brother safe because a cop found out. She said, oh no, my drugs. A
cop was blackmailing her.
And the cop was like, well, now you're going to be an informant. You're going to try to sell drugs. And you're going to tell me who's making them.
And then Nero, trying to help his family, tries to rob a bank. So the whole thing is him thinking of this whole plan, and Camille wants in, right? Because she wants to get away from this cop, and her dad finds out that he has cancer. So it's a huge deal. She needs
money, a better life for her family, and she wants to, get out from under the cop.
And another thing is in this bank that they are
planning to rob
is a diamond. It was owned by Kolya Christoph. Yeah, the Russians. And
he died, and whoops, he left it in there, and nobody knows it's there.
He thought that nobody knew that it was there. Figured it would go completely under the radar.
Yeah.
So they stole that as well. So heist went well. Everything went good.
They fall in love.
This was a pretty simple book. There wasn't anything super crazy.
It was pretty much like a will they, won't they friends.
Camille goes through where she essentially blows up a fucking meth lab.
Yeah. It was like friends to lovers. Him trying not to catch feelings because he's the bad boy and I don't get feelings because it's cool.
He fucks her on the hood of a car.
He eats her out on the beach.
Yeah. Doesn't he take her virginity too? Isn't she a virgin as well?
Yeah. Yep.
There's a lot of virgin things
She takes care of him after a fist fight and it's like super cute. Then they make out and then he just leaves.
Is Ada? Oh no, Riona
is the next one.
No.
There's 2 from now.
Aren't virgins.
Yeah.
Because Nessa was a virgin. Camille was a virgin.
Yelena
Simone was a virgin.
Oh my God.
4 of them, the girls are virgins.
Virgin tropes.
None of the fucking guys are.
Wow, imagine that. Weird.
Anyway.
It was a really good book. It's 4 on my list. 3.5 stars.
It'd probably be 5 for me.
And 2.5 spice. So same as the other 2 we've already talked about. Nothing too crazy.
And then we move on to probably one of my absolute favorite ones out of the series. Bloody Heart.
I didn't like the plot. The spice? That's good. It's so good.
So she really doesn't like the pregnancy trope.
I don't.
So this book is about Dante, the oldest gallows boy, and his absolute love. So it's mentioned a few times in the first few books how he is just hung up on this girl. He doesn't date. He doesn't really do anything. He's just been in love with this girl forever. So it goes into a little bit of a backstory of them.
Yeah.
She is a politician's daughter. So she's
like
prim, proper.
18.
Yeah, she's
super young.
So he essentially kills some guys, steals a car. She's in the back of the car. They
are talking while he's on the run.
Sight.
Yeah.
He essentially sees her through the mirror and is like, oh my God.
Love her.
So they sneak around.
The first interaction, he gets her name, where she's staying while they're in the car. He leaves. She's like, oh, weird.
I wish I could see him again.
I was talking to a criminal. I was like in love with him, whatever. Then he shows up at the house where they're staying, climbs her balcony window, kind of like Romeo and Juliet, goes into her bedroom, holds her hands above her head, fingers the shit out of her.
Like one of the first sexual interactions she's ever had.
Ever, because she's a virgin. I think it's like literally the first time.
Yeah.
She's ever been like touched or anything.
Well, no, she touches herself, but like she's like, my fingers can't compare to his.
Like that. Yeah.
Because he's a big bulky dude and they make it a big thing to talk about that too.
Yeah, big. And then he like gets her off and then her parents come upstairs.
No, her sister.
Yeah. Well, somebody comes to knock on the door and he's like, okay, bye. And he's like, gets out the window.
So they start sneaking around. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, I don't want to be your dirty secret. I want you to introduce me to your family.
Well, before then, they go to a party. We're going to talk about the spicy parts because I like the spicy parts. So they go to a party. She's like,
you meet the guy that her parents want her to be with.
It's like a political
Dante
guy.
Sees this and is like, is that what you want? Blah, 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 blah.
They're at a masquerade party.
So she sneaks off to go see him. No. This is before. The masquerade party's after.
Yeah.
She sneaks off to go see him to go be with him. Mm-hmm. And he pretty much is like, take your panties off, bend over.
Well, he goes, drop your dress, like take off your dress. So she like takes off the strap of her dress.
In public. Literally like
there's the party.
Woods, they're right here.
They're behind trees and they can still hear the music and there's like the still
they can hear the talking of the people.
Yeah, and he goes like, take off your dress. Then she's standing there in her heels and her underwear and he's like, and underwear. And she's like, oh, okay. Yes, daddy. Takes off her underwear and he's like, turn around and bend over. And she's like,
and he just,
okay. Eats her out in public.
And then he takes her out.
He's like, oh, that was fun. You want to get out of here? Yeah.
Anyway, they keep sneaking around. There's a masquerade ball. I think that's after.
I think so. I can't remember.
And that's after the dinner with her family. Her family's like, no, never going to happen. He's a criminal.
He's mafia.
Not going to happen.
In your life. Yeah.
Oh, wait, no. It's beforehand.
It's before the museum.
So anyway, before that happens, before the dinner, they go to a masquerade ball. She has this date that her parents want. And Dante is pissed. He's very much so you're mine.
Yeah. Nobody else is. Nobody else can touch you.
So he pulls her in and he's pissed. And so she danced with this guy and he's like, I need to take this. So they dance for a second and then he pulls her off into the back.
They go like down a hallway. It's in a museum. They find a chase lounge type old chair thing that's like roped off and she's like, no, we shouldn't sit on it. And he's like, well, we're gonna lay on it.
No, he forcefully it was kind of rough the way that they explained it, but she liked it. It was a thing. Consensual.
Took her virginity in the museum. Public in the museum on the like old chase lounge.
And then after that it was, I need to meet your family. I don't want to be your secret anymore.
And then they don't like him. You
took
can't
her
see
phone,
him.
Grounded her. Blah,
You're
blah, blah, blah,
gonna
blah.
go to this college over in the UK. Is that where she?
It was in France.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, after that happens, she finds out that she's pregnant.
Ruined the book for me.
Stop it!
I almost DNF'd it at that
bad.
point.
I don't think it's bad. Anyway, so she finds out she's pregnant. Stop. She goes to tell Dante about it. So she gets her phone. Her sister helps her find her phone. They plan out a meeting. And so she goes and she's waiting there for him. And he's late. Then you flip to Dante's POV. He got in a fight because Nero did some dumb shit.
He has, got in an altercation.
Someone followed him in Nero's car. Gas station blew up. He's bloody. He's late to meet her. He's like,
I still want to meet her. Like, I can't leave her hanging. So he shows up while he's bloody and like
limping, bloody, disgusting.
Like,
and
she's
she's
like in a hospital.
And she freaks out. I get it, right? Like, do you want to raise a baby in a mafia family after seeing that? Like, I get it.
I almost DNF'd it.
Anyway, she doesn't tell him. She says, I don't want to see you again. She leaves, goes to France.
Has her
kid after being super sick. And gives it to her sister, who has, I can't remember what disease she has.
She has some sort of disease where she's not going to live very long.
Yeah, and her parents are like, she's never going to get this opportunity. Just let her adopt him.
Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you're still super young. You have so much ahead of you. Like, we'll still keep the kid in the family, which also, I don't like
anyway,
it.
So becomes a model. She ends up, the kid knows that she is his mom. But essentially the sister and her are both moms. They both take care of the kid. She travels a lot. Sister takes care of him.
Sister ends up dying.
Sister dies. And then I think it's 8 years, something like that.
Later. They come back.
Papa of Simone has a thing in Chicago. So first time back in Chicago, she has her kid with her. Not thinking that she's going to run into Dante, right?
She's like, it's a big city.
Riona is the lawyer and asks Dante to be security. So they see each other. Someone gets shot at.
It turns out it's Callum that's getting shot at.
They're after Callum.
But they think it's her dad in the beginning.
Yep. So it's this whole big thing. They're trying to figure out who's trying to kill her dad. So Dante keeps running in. He actually meets the kid.
And doesn't know.
Doesn't realize because he never would have thought that she would have done that to him. So finally, blah, 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 blah. They find out that they weren't after his dad. They were after Callum, but they're like intertwined again. And they're like, they still love each other. They both held feelings. Not yet. So they realize that it is a cousin of Jack Barlow that is holding a grudge that was in the military at the same time as Dante was. And so he ends up kidnapping Simone and is like, I'm going to release her at 7 and I'm going to find her and kill her unless you can get to me first. So it's like cat and mouse. Anyway,
Dante
calls his friend
a favor from his friend Raylan.
Yep.
This like country boy that's in the military, and he's like, I need a favor. And he's like, well, sure, bestie, I'm there.
So they find him, they kill him, they save Simone. Happy ever after. They have another kid.
Raylan meets
Riona
at the very end of it, and he's like, oh, you don't like people and you don't like my flirting, and
I'm gonna make you fall in love with me.
Accepted.
And that's the end of that one, and we move on to the next one, which happens to be Riona and Raylan.
Well, I was gonna talk about the rating for this one.
Oh, okay. We kind of talked about it already.
This one's number 5 for me.
Okay, so we gave it 4 stars. Allison did not agree. She hates the pregnancy trope.
I absolutely hate it. Well, so the beginning of it was good until that middle part, and then I was like, why? It would have been it would have been good. Whatever.
I would have given it a 4.5. This one, I liked that it was something different. I think after reading Savage Lover, it was so high for me because Savage Lover was kind of a down for me because it was just kind of getting repetitive.
So
boy meets girl falls in love.
I mean, boy meets girl falls in love.
But there was like
a little bit
tension. There was something that happened. There was like a big thing.
I don't know. I still would only give it like, I don't even want to say 2, like 2.5, 3 stars, maybe.
Anyway, that 4 was me.
But the spice was good.
Spice was good. The spice definitely a 3 spice.
Yeah.
Spice. And then
the next one,
the 5th one, Raylan and Riona. This one is kind of like, this is the lowest one.
Yeah, it's
for us.
Last on my list.
2.5 stars, 2.5 spice.
Yeah.
It's like she's being hunted by an assassin. They don't know who hired them.
So Dante's like, hey, Raylan.
Be her bodyguard.
You can take care of her. She hates it. Forced proximity. He's our bodyguard.
Yep. Something happens, or the assassin tries to burn her house down, and he just leaves with her. Takes her to his family home.
The city's not safe. You've had so many like tries on your life.
Yep.
Like,
so
we're
there,
leaving.
she learns a lot about Raylan.
They start falling in love.
They're on a farm, so learns about the country life.
They go on
and
a horseback ride.
Yeah.
And then they get in, it's like a river or lake. I don't even remember. And of course they go skinny dipping. And then she starts talking about like, there's like so many like animalistic features in this like in kinks in this book that it was like
turned you off. Yeah. I get it. But super animalistic. He like attacked her and they 69'd and that was the end of that sex scene.
Yeah.
She was like, never again. And then
I don't even like you.
And then they take her to
like a country bar.
She's learning a little bit. She's like
slowly
bonding with his family.
In love. Yeah.
And I can't remember I think that's the barn scene. Was that evening?
Yeah. Right after the dance.
So he takes her into the barn.
It was
ties her
the
legs.
best scene out of the entire book.
Ties her legs to
like this table
apart, and then
like
leans
bends
her over and ties her hands and does lots of things.
Yeah, he takes like a little the
horse whips.
Well, it's like the little square one with like the little things on the end.
Yeah.
He was using that to spank her, and he found out that she likes that.
Yeah.
And it was like
super kinky.
Orgasm denial, like bondage.
Lots of stuff for that one. Yeah. And then she sends an email. The assassin tracks that email and meets her at the farmhouse.
Yeah. Tries to kill her. She's running. He ends up killing him.
They both end up killing him.
Yeah. They fall in love.
And then they fall in love, but she's still denying it.
Yeah. She's like,
she doesn't want to stay at his farm with him because he's supposed to take over the farm.
And she's a city girl who's a lawyer.
So she goes back to the city by herself, thinking, threat neutralized. We're good. The assassin's gone. We killed him. I'm good to go back. So she goes back, and then
Raylan, unbeknownst to her, decides to follow her. He's like, I'm in love
a little bit
with
later.
Her. Yeah.
But she gets there. She goes to her lawyer office because she's a super big workaholic, and she slowly starts to figure out who actually hired the assassin.
And it's her uncle.
Because there were stories that were wrong from her uncle. So she walks in to confront him, and he essentially is like, I'm going to make you kill yourself and make it look like an accident.
He holds a gun to her head, says you're going to take these
makes
meds.
her swallow her pills.
And she's like, I can throw them up afterwards, right? Like I can like swallow these and then fight him. She ends up killing him.
Yep. She shoots him in the forehead.
But then she's like overdosing on whatever.
Yeah, she couldn't get him out because she was starting to.
As she's like convulsing and has like foam and stuff like that in her mouth.
Raylan comes in, saves her,
takes her to the hospital.
Happily ever after. She ends up buying an office near his farm
in Tennessee. Right? They were in Tennessee?
I don't think it's Tennessee.
I'm pretty sure it's Tennessee.
I'm pretty
sure it's Tennessee.
I thought it was Louisville. I don't know. She's not Alabama?
No, it's not Alabama.
I don't know. Regardless, some southern state. She ends up buying a lawyer office there and moves with him there. Happily ever after. And then the final book, Heavy Crown.
I loved it. It is number 3 on my list.
It's pretty. I think it's probably my number 2.
Well, it's mainly because the first 2 books were like the intro to the series, and I just really, really liked them. This last one is so good. It might be tied.
I like action. So there were things.
Sebastian's also like my favorite character.
Happened. Like there were big things in this book. First time a main character died, aside from Jack, but I don't really think he was a super big main character.
So the story of this one is Sebastian is. It's all about Sebastian.
Well, Dante
has left.
He goes to
Nero
Paris.
is kind of still involved with the family, but he's
more on the
enforcer,
like
money, running like ops and stuff like that. Not really leading the businesses. And then Sebastian is talking to his dad about how somebody's going to have to take over the family mafia business.
And he plays chess with his dad.
And he makes a comment. Yeah, he makes a comment like, you never know when my last game is going to be.
Granted, his dad is getting old. It's a thing. He knows.
He has like dementia.
Well, a little bit.
The
housekeeper Greta talks about that a little bit. But anyway, he has a happen chance with the Russian mafia princess.
He comes across somebody trying to kidnap her.
Yep.
When you come to find out,
immediate love. Yeah. He's like,
All
I must
in.
have this woman, even though he knows it's a bad idea.
Yeah. And because they killed the Russian leader. Another guy came over from Russia, brought his 2 kids. They're twins, guy and a girl.
Adrian and Yelena.
And then, so Sebastian comes across Yelena getting kidnapped. Supposedly, you find out later that the dad set it up.
Yeah.
Because he wants to get back at the gallows.
Yep. So anyway, he meets her for the first time. She puts her phone number in his phone. He doesn't call her. He knows that it's bad. He's like, I can't. I want her,
I thought they went
to
a party. She was going to a party.
They did.
Yeah.
They went to the party. He made her essentially strip down to her bra and underwear, kissed her.
Playing pool. Yeah.
And then she went home and is like, yeah, I snared him, but he never called her. Mm-hmm. Never called her.
Because he knew it was a bad idea.
He knew it was a bad idea. And then an auction happens.
And her dad is like, hey, we're going to a charity event.
And pushes her in the stage.
Yeah.
And guess who buys her?
For a date.
Sebastian.
He spends like $50,000 or something.
Yeah, it's
absolutely
a lot.
Ridiculous on her.
Anyway, so he wins her. They start to fall in love. They're sneaking around. They buy an apartment.
Yeah.
He takes her virginity.
And then that was the weirdest part was when she comes back after losing her virginity with Sebastian, and then the like secondhand guy.
Oh, the one that's in love with her, Roman or something like that.
Yeah. The second guy for her dad like shoves her up against the wall and like pretty much fingers her and is like, why is there a cum like on my fingers? And she's like, oh no, he knows what I did.
Ew.
Yeah. I did
super
not like
weird
that part.
subplot. Anyway,
her dad finds out. They force a blood pact. And so Sebastian thinks because they come to an agreement and they do a blood pact that they're going to merge their families, kind of like the Griffins like Gallows did. Yeah. And everything's going to be forgotten and they're going to be
the blood
good.
pact was he gets to marry Yelena.
And then no hard feelings. We're going to do business together.
Yep. So they're planning the wedding. He proposes. Like, it's actually a really cute proposal. Mm-hmm. And then wedding comes and Russian guy
as
says,
they're kissing and saying I do.
Hang on. Russian guy says no Griffins allowed. He does not want the Griffins at the wedding. Dante says he's not going to go. Ada is technically a Griffin, so she's not allowed to go. But Nero, Camille, Dante, and a bunch of Sebastian's friends are there along with the Russians. Mm-hmm. And then Yelena's twin brother marries them. Mm-hmm. They're kissing. Russians stand up.
Shoot the dad
Immediately. And Nero gets it because he's protecting Camille.
He jumps in front of Camille, which was
so cute. And then, of course, Dante, being Dante, is super smart, stands up, hides, starts shooting them. Back. Sebastian loses 2 of his friends. And then the brother pulls out a gun too slow. He thinks about it first.
He hesitates for a split second. And Sebastian takes the gun, like pistol whips him or shoots him in like the shoulder or something. I feel like he caught like a side bullet.
I don't know. Something happened. And then he was getting ready to get shot from someone else. And Yelena pushed him out of the way and took the bullet in the shoulder. Mm-hmm. So she passes out, doesn't know what's going on.
They end up escaping. They have to leave their dad there.
Well, he pushes the arch over onto the people.
Yeah. They
escape. Yelena wakes up in a dungeon. Don't know where she is. Doesn't know what's going on. Sebastian is fucking pissed. Rightfully so.
Yeah. His dad just died. She was in on
Nero is not awake. They don't know if he's gonna live. He took like 6 bullets, I think.
I think it was like 7 to his back.
Something, yeah.
Because he didn't even try to fight. And Sebastian was like, that's how you know he loves Camille. Because like normally he would be like, even like family members, he would be like, fuck you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fight back. And instead he jumped in front of his girlfriend. And it was just so cute.
So anyway, you go through the revenge plan of him getting back at the Russians for killing his dad.
He goes to the only other people he can think of that would have a grudge against the Russians.
Well, because Dante says no.
Yeah, Dante
gets shot somewhere, and I think he like loses something in his fingers.
Feeling in his fingers, yeah. And he's like, I told Simone that I would not be involved in this anymore. I have kids. We have a family.
I can't go back in a bag. I need to be there for my wife, and I want to know my kid.
She needs a husband, yeah.
My kids, because he missed out on 9 years with the first one, and they just had a second baby.
So he's like, sorry, I know we're family, and our dad just died, but like, I can't die also. So then he leaves. Sebastian's like, I want revenge. Yeah. Goes to the Polish Mafia. Goes to Miko.
Miko goes to Nessa and Miko's house, makes a deal with him. They work together.
They end up.
But when he does that, he realizes he loves Yelena.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of all of the hate, he goes in and
it's great. Just 5 stars.
Nice.
He's like, you want to prove your love to me?
And pretty much like, pushes her as far as he can push her.
She's like, I'll do whatever you want. So he ends up like binding
nipple
her.
Clamps. She's on the wall.
Spread eagle on the wall, like bound to the wall, nipple clamps.
He's like
fucks her super, super hard.
Well, inner vagina, then inner mouth, then inner vagina, then inner mouth. Like weird stuff.
He's just doing whatever he wants to do. And then at the very end, he's like, you really want to prove your love for me? And then he ends up doing anal.
The forbidden fruit.
Yeah.
Anyway, they end up liking it. She gives herself to him fully, and he's like, I love her. She escapes.
Because she doesn't want her brother to die. She knows that he's going to take revenge, and she's like,
so she follows my brother. She follows her brother. Ramon, the secondhand, the guy that did weird shit to her, is going to kill Nero. She saves Nero, kills Ramon. Sebastian is his whole plan.
The Russians show up at his family's house.
Yep, they burn down their house.
It's going to happen. They burn down the house. In the meantime, shootout happens between Polish, Russians, and Sebastian's friends and family. They kill a lot of the Russians.
Yeah, Sebastian's friend ends up dying. All the Russians are gone. They end up killing the leader, her dad. Her brother was in the house when it exploded, so he's completely burned all over. And he's a very vain person, so that was huge. He fucking hates his sister.
Yeah.
But she makes it there. She convinces Ada and Callum to come to support him. They don't really have to do anything because it's kind of over by the time they get there. That was kind of weird.
Yeah.
But then they go to the hospital. Nero's awake. They meet him.
They find out that she saved him.
Everybody forgives Yelena.
Fall in love.
Well, they were already in love.
Well, like,
but they live essentially happily ever after.
And now they're
end of this book.
And now Sebastian is besties with Miko and Nessa.
And Nessa's pregnant. You find that out, and then you find out Yelena's also pregnant, and they're having babies together, which is really cute.
Just a couple months apart.
Yeah. And then the very end of this book introduces the next series, which is these beautiful things right here, the Kingmaker series.
You find out at the very end of that book that the brother also goes back to Russia with his house or his like healthcare, his like keeper who was like helping him through his burns and stuff like that with her. They end up having a kid. Yeah.
And then so we gave the last book of Brutal Birthright Heavy Crown 3.5 stars, 3 spice level.
3 spice level.
So Kingmakers is about the kids, and that is up next on our TBR, and we are so freaking excited to get into that. Allison's already started a little bit of it.
So it's already so good.
So good. Keep an eye out for those 30-second reviews. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you listening to us.
We kind of just ranted. We really loved this series.
The Brutal Birthright was so good. I definitely recommend it. It's if you like Mafia, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
And then we'll let you know how Kingmakers are. Keep an eye out for those 30-second reviews, and then you'll see our pod when we're done with them. Hopefully by the end of this month.
Like, subscribe, comment, what all.
Yeah, like, subscribe, comment if you want to see more.
Yeah.
And I appreciate y'all for being here. Thanks. You. Bye.